Right now, while you're watching this, your brain is running a calculation. It's asking, is this worth my energy? And it's asking that question thousands of times a day. Every task, every decision, every moment you consider doing something hard. That calculation is supposed to help you, but something has gone wrong with it, and it's not your fault. Most people blame laziness. They think they lack discipline or willpower or motivation, but that's not what's happening. Your brain isn't broken, it's been calibrated by apps, by algorithms, by teams of behavioral scientists whose entire job is to make sure your attention never leaves their platform. This is a hijacking problem, not a character problem. In the next 30 minutes, you're going to understand exactly why hard things feel hard and how to flip that switch for good. We'll cover the neuroscience, the reset protocol, and the systems that make discipline your default, not something you have to fight for every single day. And there's one phase of this process almost everyone quits during. Keep that in mind, because when we get there, you'll understand why pushing through it is the whole point. Part 1. Your brain's motivation engine. There's a small cluster of neurons deep in your brain called the Nucleus Accumbens. Think of it as your brain's wanting machine. It doesn't produce pleasure, that's a common mix-up. What it produces is anticipation. It fires before the reward, not because of it. And the chemical driving all of that is dopamine. So dopamine isn't really a feel-good chemical, it's a go-get-it chemical. It creates the urge, the pull, the itch to reach for something. When you swipe on your phone and your thumb keeps moving before you even processed what you just saw, that's dopamine doing its job. Your brain is hunting for the next reward, and every swipe might be the one, so it keeps telling you to keep going. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your brain is adaptive. When you flood it with easy dopamine hits over and over, it responds by pulling back. It reduces the number of receptors available to receive those dopamine signals. Scientists call this downregulation, but a simpler way to think about it is your brain turning down the volume on satisfaction. The same stimulation produces less of a response, so you need more of it just to feel normal. This is the tolerance effect, and it works exactly like tolerance to any other substance. Someone who spends 4 hours scrolling doesn't come away feeling entertained. They come away feeling flat, restless, vaguely irritated, and immediately reaching for the phone again because that's the only thing that still registers. You've probably felt this. You pick up your phone meaning to check one thing, and an hour disappears. You put it down and feel worse before you picked it up. That's not a personality flaw. That's a brain that has been trained to expect constant, effortless stimulation, and now anything slower than that feels like nothing at all. Think about a book you used to love, the kind you'd read for hours without looking up. After a week of heavy scrolling, that same book feels unbearable. The words blur, your mind wanders, you're reaching for your phone after 2 pages. The book didn't change. Your brain's sensitivity to slower rewards did. And this matters beyond productivity. When your reward system gets calibrated this way, the things that used to feel meaningful, making progress on a goal, finishing something you started, doing work you're proud of, stop registering as rewarding at all. Your brain compares them to the instant hit of a notification, and they lose every single time. That's not a willpower problem, that's a calibration problem. And calibration can be fixed.
Part 2. The modern hijack. Here's what makes this especially difficult to escape. Your brain was never designed for the world you're living in right now. For most of human history, dopamine served a specific purpose. It pushed you toward things that were rare and uncertain: food, safety, connection. The reward came after real effort, and that gap between effort and reward is what made the system work. Your brain learned to associate struggle with payoff, and that wiring ran deep. Now, take that same ancient brain and drop it inside a smartphone. Infinite scroll, autoplay, push notifications timed to the exact moment your attention starts to drift. These aren't accidents. The variable reward schedule, where sometimes you get something interesting and sometimes you don't, is one of the most powerful behavioral reinforcement patterns ever studied. Slot machines use it. So does every major social platform. The uncertainty is the point. Your brain can't stop pulling the lever because maybe this next one is the hit. The teams building these products aren't guessing. They're running thousands of A/B tests to find the exact shade of red for the notification badge that makes your thumb move fastest. They're studying retention curves and session lengths down to the second. Your attention is their revenue, and they have entire departments whose only job is to make sure you can't look away. So what happens to your effort-to-reward ratio when you live inside that system long enough? It breaks. Your brain has now experienced what a reward feels like with zero effort attached. It knows that relief is one swipe away. So when you sit down to work on something that takes real concentration, a project, a workout, a skill you're trying to build, your brain does the math instantly. This is going to take time, the outcome is uncertain, and I'm not going to get any signal for a while. Meanwhile, the phone is right there. The comparison happens automatically, below the level of conscious thought, and the phone wins before you've even noticed you made a choice. This is the effort-to-reward ratio being artificially broken, and it explains something that sounds contradictory. The more entertainment you consume, the less satisfied you feel. You can spend an entire Saturday watching videos, scrolling feeds, moving from one piece of content to the next, fully stimulated the whole time, and go to bed that night feeling hollow. That's not ingratitude. That's the difference between pleasure and satisfaction. Pleasure is immediate. It doesn't require anything from you. It shows up fast and fades just as fast, leaving you reaching for the next hit. Satisfaction is different. It comes from finishing something, building something, doing something hard and coming out the other side. It doesn't arrive until after the effort. Modern life has flooded your system with pleasure while almost completely removing the conditions that produce satisfaction. You're getting one and starving for the other, and your brain is starting to forget what the other one even feels like. This isn't just a productivity problem, it's a control problem. Right now, if you're being honest with yourself, the algorithm is making a lot of your decisions for you. What you look at, what you think about, how your time disappears. That's not freedom, that's your attention being rented out without your consent. The good news is that the same mechanism that makes the brain this flexible in the wrong direction makes it flexible in the right one too.
Part 3. What a dopamine reset actually is. Let's clear something up before we go any further, because the name causes confusion. A dopamine detox doesn't mean you're removing dopamine from your brain. You couldn't do that if you tried. Dopamine is running constantly. It's involved in movement, memory, learning, sleep. You need it. The goal isn't to eliminate it. The goal is to stop artificially flooding your system with it through sources that cost you nothing and give you nothing real in return. What you're actually doing is removing hyperstimulation. You're taking away the fire hose so your brain can remember what a glass of water feels like. Here's the best way to picture it. Imagine your dopamine system as a dimmer switch. Over months of easy hits, scrolling, autoplay, constant novelty, that switch has been cranked all the way up, maximum brightness all the time. When that's your baseline, normal light doesn't look like light anymore. It looks like darkness. A conversation, a walk, a focused hour of work, none of those register as rewarding because your system is calibrated for something 10 times brighter. A reset isn't about punishment or going cold turkey forever. It's about turning that dial back down so your brain can recalibrate what bright actually means. And when it does, something shifts. The scientific term is upregulation. Your brain, no longer being overwhelmed by easy signals, starts producing more dopamine receptors to pick up the signals that are available. Sensitivity comes back. Things that felt flat start registering again. The satisfaction of finishing a task, the calm after a focused session, the small lift you get from being outside. Your brain starts catching those signals instead of missing them entirely. This is neuroplasticity working in your favor for once. Your brain is always rewiring. Every single choice you make is either deepening the grooves of distraction or carving new ones towards discipline. That's not a metaphor, it's how the underlying circuits actually function. Repeated behavior strengthens the pathways that produce that behavior. Right now, those pathways run towards the easiest available reward, but they can run somewhere else, and the reset is how you start redirecting them. Now, in terms of timing, here's a rough framework that gives you something concrete to work with. 3 days is the minimum to start feeling any shift at all. You're mostly just getting through the initial resistance. 7 days is where something meaningful starts to happen. Your baseline begins to move, and things that seemed pointless start feeling like they might actually be worth doing. 14 days is where people describe it as genuinely transformative. Attention span expands, decisions come faster, the pull toward distraction weakens in a way that starts to feel automatic rather than forced. These aren't magic numbers. Everyone's baseline is different, and how deep into overstimulation you are affects how long the reset takes. But the direction is consistent. The longer you hold it, the more the recalibration sticks. One thing worth saying now, this process isn't about becoming someone who never watches a video or never scrolls again. That's not the point, and it's not realistic. The point is to shift your baseline so that when you do engage with those things, you're choosing to, not being pulled there by a brain that has no other way to feel anything. The difference between using something deliberately and being used by it is exactly the difference a reset creates. But before you start, there's something you need to know about the first few days, because most people hit a specific wall and interpret it completely wrong. They think they're failing. It's actually the opposite. That wall is the whole thing working exactly as it should, and understanding what it is before you hit it is the difference between pushing through and quitting too soon.
Part 4. The withdrawal phase and how to survive it. The first 2 to 3 days of a reset feel bad. Not this is mildly inconvenient bad, more like a low hum of irritability that you can't shake, a restlessness that makes it hard to sit still, and a boredom so sharp it almost has a physical texture. You'll find yourself picking up your phone out of pure muscle memory before you've even thought about it. You'll feel the urge to check something, anything, just to break the silence. Most people stop here. They figure this discomfort is proof that the reset isn't for them, that their brain just works differently, or that they need more stimulation than other people do. But that interpretation gets it completely backwards. That discomfort isn't the signal to stop, it's the signal that it's working. Here's what's actually happening in your brain during those first few days. When you remove a high stimulation input your brain has organized itself around, it produces error signals. Neuromodulators like norepinephrine spike. Your brain is registering that something expected isn't arriving, and it's flagging those circuits for adjustment. The discomfort you're feeling, that irritable, antsy, can't settle feeling, is your brain being forced to update. Struggle and friction are what trigger neural reorganization. They're not the obstacle to rewiring, they're the mechanism of it. So the restlessness is a sign you've started. The anxiety is your reward system recalibrating. The boredom is your brain losing its grip on the old pattern. You don't push through this phase despite the discomfort. You push through it because of it. Now, the practical side. You can't just remove something and leave a gap.
Your brain will fill that gap with whatever's easiest, and easiest right now still means reaching for the phone. So you replace the removed behaviors deliberately, not with things that are morally superior, but with things that run on a slower reward signal. A physical book instead of scrolling, cooking instead of ordering, a walk without headphones instead of a podcast or playlist, writing by hand instead of typing or instead of nothing at all. These feel underwhelming at first. That's expected. Your dopamine system is still tuned high, so slower signals barely register. But something starts happening after a few days of consistent replacement that most people don't anticipate. Your brain begins releasing dopamine in anticipation of those activities. You sit down with the book, and there's a small pull toward it you didn't feel before. You lace up your shoes and notice something that might be called looking forward to the walk. That shift, the wanting arriving before the doing, means you're retraining anticipation itself. You're not just doing different things, you're rewiring what your brain reaches for. Think about someone who commits to a 7-day reset. The first 2 days are fine, mostly because the novelty of trying something new carries a little momentum. Day 3 hits, and that's where it gets hard. The old reward pathways are screaming, and nothing in the replacement activities feels remotely satisfying yet. That's peak misery, and it's also the moment most people bail. But push past day 3, and by day 5, something shifts. Sleep gets better. The morning walk stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like something worth doing. The silence that felt unbearable starts feeling like space to think. That's not coincidence. That's the timeline of upregulation playing out in real time. One thing worth being clear about: surviving this phase isn't about white-knuckling every moment with gritted teeth. It's about understanding the arc. When you know the discomfort peaks around day 2 or 3 and then starts easing, you're not fighting blind. You're waiting for a predictable process to run its course. The people who quit early don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they thought the discomfort was information about the outcome, when really it's just information about the timing. Get through the wall and the reset starts doing what it's supposed to. Now the question becomes how to make sure the recalibration actually holds, and that's where your environment comes in.
Part 5. Environment design. Make discipline the default. Once your baseline has shifted, the worst thing you can do is drop back into the same environment that calibrated it wrong in the first place. Because here's what research on self-control actually shows. People who seem to have the most discipline don't succeed because they resist temptation better. They succeed because they encounter it less. They've arranged their lives so that the right behavior is the easy behavior and the wrong one takes work. That's the whole game. Not building more willpower, building a life where you need it less. Willpower is finite. It depletes across the day with every decision you make, every time you have to consciously override an impulse. It's also context-dependent, which means it fails exactly when you're most stressed, most tired, or most distracted, the moments when you need it most. Your environment doesn't have those problems. It runs whether you're paying attention to it or not, which makes it far more reliable than any internal resource. The core principle here is friction. Every extra step between you and a distraction is a small vote for the person you're building toward. Every removed step between you and a good habit is the same vote. You're not relying on motivation in the moment. You're engineering the moment so motivation barely has to show up. Start physical. Your phone is probably the biggest lever here. If it's in the same room while you're working, you'll reach for it, even if the screen is off, even if it's face down. Research measuring cognitive performance found that the brain partially allocates attention to the phone just because it's visible, registering it as something to manage. Put it in another room, not on silent in your pocket, another room. That single change removes dozens of micro-decisions across a work session, and each of those decisions is cognitive load you don't have to spend. Workout clothes laid out the night before, healthy food at eye level in the fridge.
the book you want to read sitting on your pillow so you have to move it to get into bed. These aren't tricks, they're architecture. You're designing the space so the path of least resistance leads somewhere useful. The digital side needs the same treatment. Delete social apps from your phone entirely, not move to a folder, delete it. If you want to access them, use a browser on a laptop, which is a real friction increase. Use a website blocker during your focused hours. Make your phone home screen genuinely boring. Calendar, notes, maybe a clock. Nothing that produces a response the second you look at it. The goal is that picking up your phone should feel like picking up a tool, not opening a slot machine. Here's something behavioral economists have documented across dozens of different contexts. People almost always choose the default.
In countries where organ donation is opt-in rather than opt-out, donor rates jump from around 20% to over 85%.
The population didn't change, the values didn't change, the default did. The same principle runs in your personal life. Whatever your environment makes the default choice, that's what you'll do when you're not consciously overriding it. So the question isn't whether you have defaults. You do, everyone does. The question is whether you set them, or whether they were set for you by whoever designed the apps on your phone. There's also a social dimension most people skip over. The people around you are continuously calibrating your dopamine baseline in ways you don't consciously register. If the people you spend the most time with are scrolling through dinner, watching hours of content every night, treating every quiet moment as something to fill, that becomes your normal. Not through pressure, through proximity. Your brain picks up behavioral cues from the people around you and adjusts what feels acceptable. Spend time around people who treat their attention as something worth protecting, and protecting yours starts feeling natural rather than extreme. You're not trying to isolate yourself. You're being intentional about what surrounds you often enough that it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like just how things are. That's when the environment is doing its job, when discipline isn't something you're doing, it's just something that happens.
Part 6. Habit Stacking. Building the New Brain. Your environment removes the obstacles, but something still has to build the new pathways, and that's where most reset attempts stall out. People clean up their surroundings, get through the withdrawal phase, feel the baseline shift, and then have no structure for what actually replaces the old wiring. Good intentions fill the space for a week or two, and then the drift starts again, because good intentions aren't a system. Habit stacking is the system. The idea is simple. You take a behavior you already do automatically, something so wired in that you don't think about it, and you attach a new behavior directly to it, before or after, every single time, without negotiation. You're not building a new habit from scratch. You're piggybacking onto a neural pathway that already exists and is already strong. This matters because of how deeply those existing habits are encoded. Repeated behaviors get myelinated. The neural pathway gets wrapped in a fatty sheath that makes the signal travel faster and more reliably. Your morning coffee, sitting at your desk, finishing lunch, these routines are so myelinated they practically run on autopilot. When you consistently attach something new to the end of one of them, your brain starts treating the two as a single extended sequence. The cue that fires the old habit starts pulling the new one with it. You stop needing to decide to do the new thing. It just follows. The formula is deliberately boring. After I do this, I will do that. Specific, not aspirational. After I make my coffee, I'll write down my 3 most important tasks for the day. After I sit down at my desk, I'll start a 25-minute focus block before I open anything else. After lunch, I'll walk for 10 minutes without my phone. That's it. No complicated system, no tracking app, no motivation required.
just a concrete action attached to a concrete cue, repeated until it stops feeling like something you're doing and starts feeling like just what happens. Start smaller than feels meaningful. Seriously, 2 minutes of reading, 1 page, 1 set of 10. The goal at the beginning isn't volume, it's repetition. Because the pathway doesn't care how much you did it, it cares how many times you did it. 2 minutes of reading every single day for 3 weeks builds a stronger groove than 3 hours of reading one Saturday. Repetition drives myelination. Consistency is what builds the wiring, not intensity. There's something else that happens when you follow through on stacked habits consistently, and James Clear describes this well in Atomic Habits. Every time you do the thing you said you'd do, you cast a small vote for a particular identity, the identity of someone who does hard things, who shows up, who follows through. One vote doesn't feel like much, but over weeks and months, the accumulation adds up, and your brain starts to organize around that identity. It starts protecting it. Deviating from it starts to feel uncomfortable because it contradicts what the evidence says you are. And here's the part that ties directly back to everything we've covered. Small wins from completed habits release dopamine, not the borrowed kind from an external source, internal dopamine generated by your own follow-through. When you stack a habit, complete it, and feel that small click of satisfaction, your reward system is learning to fire in response to discipline instead of distraction. You're not outsourcing your dopamine to an algorithm anymore. You're producing it yourself through exactly the kind of effort-based action your brain was built to find rewarding. The stacks compound. One habit attached to one cue becomes 2, then 3. Each repetition deepens the pathway. Each completed loop generates a little more pull toward the next one. The system starts feeding itself, and that's when the long game really begins.
Part 7. The long game. Discipline as your natural state. Something nobody tells you about this process: it doesn't end. Your brain will always have a pull toward easy rewards. That's not a design flaw you fix once and move past. It's biology, and it runs permanently. The goal was never to eliminate that pull. The goal is to make it smaller over time and to build enough competing structure that it stops winning by default. That distinction matters because a lot of people finish a reset, feel the shift, and then expect that the work is done. It isn't. But here's what changes. The effort required to stay on track shrinks dramatically. The drift back toward distraction gets slower and shallower. The pull toward discipline gets stronger and faster. You're not fighting the same battle indefinitely. You're fighting a progressively easier version of it, because every repetition deepens the pathways that make the right choice feel natural. What does life actually look like on the other side of this? The most consistent thing people describe is an expanded attention span that almost surprises them. Tasks that used to fragment into 10-minute sessions before the mind wandered start going for an hour without effort. Not because they force themselves, because the brain has recalibrated what a normal attention window feels like. Decisions come faster because you're not constantly pulling out your phone to fill the gap between one thought and the next. You start processing things internally again, which most people haven't done at full capacity in years. There's also more energy, and this one catches people off guard. You'd think consuming less would feel depleting, but the opposite happens. Riding dopamine spikes and crashes all day is exhausting in a way you don't notice until it stops. When you're not cycling through stimulation and flatness every 30 minutes, your baseline energy steadies out. The afternoon fog gets lighter. Getting started on things stops requiring as much activation. The biggest shift, though, is what happens to motivation. When you do hard things consistently over time, you stop needing external validation to keep going. The satisfaction becomes intrinsic, meaning it comes from the work itself rather than from someone approving it
or a metric going up, or a notification confirming you did something right. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation, and it's qualitatively different from anything external. You don't chase it, it just builds quietly as the internal reward from effort starts compounding. This is also what's happening in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles planning, long-term thinking, and impulse control. Every time you choose the delayed reward over the immediate one, you're running reps on that circuitry. The connections strengthen. The impulse-driven parts of your brain start losing the argument faster because the planning circuitry gets quicker at overriding them. You're not just building better habits, you're upgrading the hardware that manages every decision you make. Here's the reframe that tends to land once someone has been through this process. From where you're standing right now, discipline looks harder than distraction. That's a perspective problem, not a facts problem. From the other side, distraction is what looks unbearable because you remember what it costs. The empty evenings, the going to bed behind feeling, the slow erosion of time that was supposed to go somewhere. Distraction doesn't feel like rest from that vantage point. It feels like debt. Right now, your phone decides when you feel bored. The algorithm decides what occupies your mind. The apps decide how your hours disappear. That's not a neutral arrangement. Reclaiming your attention isn't about becoming more productive in some abstract sense. It's about being the one who decides what you think about, what you build toward, and what you do with the hours that make up your life. Picture waking up tomorrow and actually wanting to do the hard thing. Not because you manufactured the motivation, not because you forced it, but because your brain has been rewired to find it genuinely satisfying. That's not an idealized version of you. That's just you without the calibration problem. Conclusion. Your brain wasn't designed to serve algorithms. It was designed to find deep satisfaction in doing hard things. And that capacity isn't gone. It's just buried under months or years of the wrong inputs. Here's the one concrete step. Identify your single biggest source of empty dopamine right now and cut it for 7 days. Not permanently, just 7 days. Notice the restlessness when it arrives. Notice when it peaks. Notice when it starts to ease off. That easing is your brain reorganizing in real time. And once you've felt it happen, you won't need convincing about anything else in this video. If you want to go deeper on habit stacking and building the kind of systems that make discipline automatic, watch our video on atomic habits next, and don't forget to subscribe.